to Cisco Unplugged.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 82 of Cisco Unplugged, your show for all things wireless. I'm Dan Klamert here with Al Dumdei. How's it going, Al?
Hey, good, Dan. I'm over here at a particular airport. We won't mention names, but enjoying my 800 megabit per second, 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi from Cisco.
Oh, nice. Looks good. Sounds good. Cool. So,
Yeah.
hey, we got some exciting news here. We got an announcement here to make. We've got an
Yes.
official Cisco Live session here that we want to talk a little bit about, right?
Yes. This is going to be a blast,
Yes.
right? So we've kind of gathered. I mean, these guys that are going to be participating with us in this, we're going to have a panel.
Yeah.
And then we're going to interview the panel and we're going to take questions from the audience. And so you have a chance, if you're coming to Cisco Live, post questions early, ask questions live, that sort of stuff. But these guys are all guys that have written books, they're distinguished engineers. They have, written all sorts of blogs and standards. And I mean, these guys have done it all, right?
Yeah. Seen it all, done it all.
Right.
Tell some good stories.
We're going to have a lot of fun. So,
it's the, what is it? The live Q&A with the Titans of wireless, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm excited. No, thank you for all your work and getting it approved. And if you're out at Cisco Live, come and join us. And you can find it in the catalog at BRKEWN 1012. So 1012.
It is guaranteed to be entertaining.
It will be fun. It will be fun.
We have a lot of personalities on that with a lot of experience.
lots of experience, lots of brain power, and lots of personalities. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Exactly.
All right. Well, on to the show here. I just this week we're talking about automating wireless workflows with Ansible, and we're very fortunate to have Josh Lipton joining us today. How are you doing today, Josh?
Good. Thank you. How about you guys?
Doing great.
Good.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So
tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, and kind of your experience at Cisco.
Let me just say before he jumps in, let me just say, Josh has got to be one of the smartest guys I know. So
He is.
It's a privilege to have him on the show here today. He's one busy dude. So
Yeah, thanks for the time.
Make me blush a little bit now. So
it's true.
It is.
I just came back to Cisco actually about 8 months ago now. I took a little brief hiatus to try the startup world, and I'm very happy to be back. And a lot of the things I work on is how I'm working on the enterprise networking team and working with customers on how we can. Right now, I'm doing a lot around automation and how I can simplify their use of our products and being able to bring them onto Meraki dashboard, and then use some of the tools that we have in dashboard with workflows. And then a lot of my customers also invest a lot of time in Ansible and how I can integrate and show them how to use both together. And then, so this is kind of what brought me here today, was just showing what I've been doing with some of my customers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
Fantastic.
great. Yeah. And Al, we've talked a little bit about Ansible and wireless automation in the past, kind of what is Ansible, what we do with it. We had Craig on. He did a great job, episode 69. If you want to go back and watch that, if you haven't, I do recommend it. It's a great episode. But then kind of today we're looking at how we can leverage workflows, right? And kind of with Ansible together.
Right.
Yeah. And then next episode, what are we going to talk about?
We're going to specifically talk about workflows, like running native workflows, primarily around wireless applications, right?
Yeah.
So I think we did a brief introduction to workflows a while back, and then we did a pretty in-depth Ansible, as you were saying.
Yeah.
And this would be kind of the first time we kind of married those two together, and then we're going to have a pretty in-depth workflows to follow up. So lots of automation, but I will say, as I go meet with various customers and stuff like that, this seems to be definitely an area where, of interest. We get a lot of interest in this area.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah, definitely a hot topic. So, if you're looking for that kind of natural progression, episode 69 to then this episode 82, and then next episode here, 83.
And one of my most favorite things about workflows, it's free.
Yeah.
So
included.
and there's free training and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
Just
I don't know that anything's free from Cisco, but I say included. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you don't need a license to activate it. So
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
As far as I know, it's free.
Yep. Okay.
So,
All right.
you just got to get an account if you don't have a Meraki account, but that doesn't cost them to get an account.
That's true. That's very
Right.
cool. Yeah. So just
what's
before
great-
we get started here, a couple of quick reminders here. We are streaming this on YouTube, and you can go to our channel, youtube.com/@get unplugged. Go out there, like and subscribe this to the channel. Click the notification bell next to when you subscribe. You will be notified when we do go live with other great content like this. And like I said, when we go with next episode 83 on talking more about workflows, digging in deeper there, you'll be notified when we do go live there. So let's, I guess, dig in here. So Josh, if you want to kind of get us started here, let's get unplugged. Let's start talking about automation here with wireless workflows with Ansible.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything that I'm showing today actually is quote unquote open source or free. So
Sure.
that's another great thing and I'd be hosting all the code on my GitHub. So we would be able to, anyone that wants to see it will be able to go and take a look and
Nice.
download it and be able to use what I built and
Should we could we post like the link in the show notes here under the kind of the episode on YouTube?
absolutely.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll do that after the fact here. Mental
So-
note to myself to do that.
So
Let me know how that goes.
just want to set the stage a little bit real fast on, what I talk about with my customers and what we've been working on is how do we make that request into the automation? We're going to plan that deployment. We're going to make the change. We're going to verify it, and we want to prove, right? So this is the flow of how we're going to be able to make these requests in either with the Meraki dashboard AI assistant. So we get to see how that's going to work and how we can integrate with workflows, and then using webhooks from the GitHub Actions, we'll be able to show how the compliance bot or my RevX Teams bot will get an update if we're out of compliance in an area.
I think when we talked a little bit about this, not to steal too much thunder here, what really excited me was, when you were showing some of and talking through some of the AI assistant and how it's obviously we can use it for some troubleshooting and asking questions, things along those lines on the network, status of the network, but much, much more. Taking it to the next level and using it to kind of call a workflow to do a task is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do multiple tasks. So, we're going to be able to call deploying a new SSID, to maybe a new site, being able to run a compliance check at a later date. So you'll be able to use that AI bot to do multiple things. And as that bot gets developed and we start working with more, will be interaction with the bot. So being able to get feedback and run additional tasks, which is always a good thing to do. And then, one of the things, so some of my customers have, one of my customers has 1,500 sites, and consistency is probably the most important thing for them. So how they stay consistent across every site when they roll something out, and being able to use a plan and validate is a big part of this. So how do we roll out the same SSID across 1,500 different networks is a big piece. And that's where using a Ansible playbook is so key for them and so important. But being able to validate that and then keeping that record. So how are we going to keep that record when we verify the change? And that's where the whole this whole process comes into play. Being able to use our existing repository of all the work we put into Ansible, and then integrate it with some of the new technology we have in Dashboard with workflows, and that brings us to how this comes together. So, with that said, I can.
While he's doing that, just real quick, I mean, we're going to show this, around the Meraki dashboard and that kind of stuff. But just to be clear, workflows is not limited to Meraki, right? There's lots of things you can do with workflows. So,
absolutely. So that's the great thing, because workflows is actually calling into GitHub to trigger the action. So we're making a dispatch call onto GitHub, and then it's so that's one thing. But on the product front, we can work with Catalyst Center, Firepower, Thousand Eyes. There's a whole bunch of different actions and pre-built API calls that are in there or is a drag and drop.
Nice.
But we have inside of here, we have multiple different actions and playbooks that we can call from our validation, which would validate. We have a playbook that does the full dispatch. So I have a GitHub action that will dispatch or call my other actions. So that way, from the workflows inside of dashboard, I can just make one call, change a value, a variable, and it makes that call and calls out to the other playbooks. So it makes it very versatile and easy for me to make these calls and run. And then one of the important things that I have is how do we validate what's happening? So by having our baseline built, so our baselines are stored by the network, I can keep that baseline and then validate against this at all times to make sure that if a change is made manually across one of these 1,500 sites, when we run our compliance checks, it will go back and look, hey, did something change? And this is a key factor for this customer, that they're able to go and deploy these sites, have the local on-site management personnel manage a site, and then make sure that they stay in compliance with how they expect the deployments to be. This is all built into this GitHub action, as well as the playbooks for Ansible, and then the Meraki workflow. And so one of the other pieces was the group policies. So we want to make sure that our group policies that we deploy stay where they should be. So being able to audit the group policy, being able to audit that, if we set a deny on like the guest policy on that restricted, someone doesn't change it to an allow. And then if it does change to allow, when we run our auditor checks, it'll go through and flag and send that out, that alert to fix that.
Okay,
And
so you're not talking about just deployment then, Josh. You're talking as well about, as auditing too. So making sure from a change perspective, who's, if holding the config, making sure that it's not drifting or people aren't going and changing things.
Yeah, exactly. And one of my customers, what they are somewhat of like an MSP, but they're responsible for rolling out a dashboard organization to the end users. And then after that, the end user is responsible for configuring everything. But because of the overarching IT authority, they have certain requirements and compliance that they want to be done. And their concern has always been, how do I make sure that it's there without having to go check all of these different organizations and networks? And that's where this piece came into play, is making sure that, things like an ACL or the SSIDs have the proper security on it or configured a specific way that we're not allowing somebody onto the network that shouldn't be there without having to constantly manually check everything. And it sends out that automated alert. Now, what's really cool about this is that if you wanted to, you can do automatic remediation. But that's like kind of the next phase of how do you implement this is, okay, you failed that compliance. We're going to automatically go back and remediate this because there's no approved change on it. But for today, we're just going to show how the compliance works, how the deploying an SSID to an existing site would work, because that's one of those key things where, we have our guest SSID deployed, but we don't have our secure SSID deployed to this new site yet. And how do I deploy that SSID, keeping it standard, making sure we stay in compliance with all of the standards that were set out? The PSKs and the names are standardized, right? We don't want to, in this instance, they still use a PSK, this customer, and they want to make sure that they get pushed out in a way that there was a controlled, and they don't have, there's a change control if it happens. We don't release them to everybody. They get automatically put into the MDM system, and they get put into dashboard without somebody having to type it in. They are working towards moving to a radius deployment using 802.1x TLS, but it's a long transition for them because of how many devices they have to manage. So And then that's where we were able to use Ansible and this workflow to, once they make that transition, we can switch it to all the SSIDs to that radius with ETLS without having to manually check each network. And then for the automation piece in here, that's where these workflows come in. We have different triggers. So to deploy the SSID, we have this built, and I can make my screen a little bit bigger so we can see it. So we have this workflow that was built that will take input from the end user. We defined specific values. So this can be handed off to a help desk person or a on-site deployment personnel, and they'll be able to now take input and choose only specific values that we allow them to. So only choose these values for the auth method. And then if it's, for the PSKs, being able to only choose these PSK values that are stored in the vault in Ansible. So that way, even the on-site personnel may not get access to them because we push it out to the MDM and it's already stored in a secure location. So all these settings are predefined without having to go and define them each time you roll out the SSID to a new site. It just becomes a menu option to be chosen. We'll validate the input, and then what we'll do is we'll dispatch out to GitHub. So we will then create the body of the message and send that dispatch message out. And we will create that body using some Python script in here, where we take all the values, we bring it in, and we create the message that has to go out. So this is all done with Python script, with the workflows that are in here. A lot of them are drag and drop, but if you want to, you can use Python script as well. So you can copy some of your existing Python scripts, bring them into here, and then run your workflow through dashboard right in here.
And that's really cool because, if you have existing Python scripts or Ansible, and we don't lose those when we move to workflows, right? We can integrate those in and build around them.
Absolutely. And that's why we started doing this, is that way our customer can take advantage of workflows, the AI assistant to trigger these workflows while still using Ansible, something they're familiar with. And we have Ansible running as a GitHub action, so it sits in the cloud and it's able to trigger without having to worry about the compute locally. And it will automatically update the GitHub repo with the changes that are made. And if we run compliance, the compliance reports as well. So this happens.
Good. Sorry. Good.
Go up. It's okay, Al.
I was just saying, when you go to build these, how do you start? Like, do you start with, is there some pre-built YAML files already that you generally start with? You start from scratch? What kind of
are you going to use AI? That was going to be my
question. Hey, exactly.
So probably about 20 years, I don't want to date myself too much, 20 years of doing this stuff and automating and, coming up with different ways of doing it. I have a large library of scripts I've written back all the way to when I was just doing Visual Basic scripting and VBA and Excel workbooks to now when I'm doing, Python or Ansible or, if I'm building a front end React. Now I do a lot of React work, to build the front end around something and try to make things look nicer. So I do have a large library, but I tend to actually just leverage AI tools now. I do a lot of work in an application called Cursor, which I can use different AI models and be able to write code, and it'll come up. I'll actually brainstorm with the LLM agent, the agent, and come up with ideas. So I'll have an idea of like, this is what I want to do. And there's a prompt they've built and installed through some of the new features in Cursor, and then I tweaked it a little bit to meet my needs where I can brainstorm with it. It'll ask me some questions to help form like the idea. So it's like having a coworker with you to be able to bounce ideas off of, and then start building a plan to write code and come up with these ideas. I still find that like knowing how the code works is important because the quality of code has gotten a lot better since I first started doing this with the AI, but agents. But knowing how it works is important too, because when you hit that bug or that troubleshooting something, knowing where that bug is or knowing how to identify that makes it a lot easier than just relying on the agent. Ironically, right before we started to do this, I found the bug in my code, and I had to go through and figure out, okay, this is where it is, this is why it's happening, and was able to identify it and trigger and to fix that, as well as while I'm looking at it, I can have the LLM agent or my cursor agent look at it, and we can kind of work with each other to figure out what's going on. So now you have an extra pair of hands. I find that leveraging this stuff really gives me like an extra set of hands, or a couple people working around me to help with my ideas and facilitate this stuff.
Yeah, I read a book that kind of equated it to like AI is your thought partner and you're the thought leader. And I think that you did a good job kind of summarizing that, Josh.
It's funny how you say that, because I was on I spoke to a couple of my coworkers earlier, and they were asking me how I did something in AI and how I built it. I was like, look, you got to break it down and explain it that you're explaining to a 2-year-old, that you got to be very specific sometimes.
Yes.
And then you have to be able to check it. It's very powerful. It can do a lot.
Yes.
But it's gonna guess or hallucinate at times, and it's gonna try to make something up. And you got to remind it not to guess.
Sure.
So it's a great tool, and could be very powerful. But you also got to be careful. And we saw some incidences in services going down with some pretty big companies where they rolled out a new service or made a change and let the AI agent do it without any oversight, and it took down a bunch of services. So while I let my AI agents kind of do some things on its own, I still have to hit next. I still make sure I know one hitting next. I never roll the AI agent directly onto production at first. I always try it in a lab setting, so that way we can see what it comes out.
Yeah.
But I can sit here and talk today about it.
In this case, with workflows, integration with workflows in AI, like Dan said earlier, you pointed out in your flow chart, you can do prescriptive things with workflows that's called from a AI tool, right?
Because
So
the
that way-
workflows are tested, right? So when you're calling them, you've got something that's validated. It's not the AI
Absolutely.
doing it. Yeah, the AI isn't doing it by itself. It's calling something that is verified, tested.
Absolutely. And that's what's great about that, is that we're not leaving the automation up to the AI to figure out for everything. There are some things that our AI assistant can do in troubleshooting, but for any of those advanced, features that we want to maybe implement or change, you have a workflow that you write for that you've validated, you've tested. You made sure that will work properly, and it's not going to do something that could
Unintended
or cause an issue that, take down your SSID, like disable an SSID, change a value or a on something that you didn't mean to. So it's important that we control those things, control SSI, control our AI, and control how we use it. And like I said, I could sit here and talk all day about AI agents and how I use them and how we can use them to increase efficiency.
Maybe another show.
Yeah. We probably better move on.
Anyway,
Maybe into the AI show. Yeah, this is good, but yeah.
I'm going to get to demoing some of these actions and how they work. So first of all, what's great is we have an AI agent built in, right? And I can go right in here in dashboard. So I don't even have to leave dashboard to trigger these. I can give it my prompt. And right from there, it's going to know what to do. So it's going to now know, hey, I want to deploy an SSID using my Ansible script. So it's going to say, hey, let's go and do this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to give it the go ahead. And then, like I said before, this is designed. So now you can just pick the pieces that you need. So do we want this visible? Yes. We're enabling it. band selection.
So this could be like maybe a level 1 person that you want to do to help you scale some of these deployments. I don't need to know like filling in the blanks here. I can just pick drop downs and not really goof this up.
Exactly. And that's the whole point, is that I have these predefined values that for the customer defined. We have they're set. They don't have to get changed. And we did give it a little bit of the ability to make certain changes. And if you choose radius, let's say I choose radius, it's not going to pass validation now, and it won't deploy it and it won't break it because of the way the playbooks were designed. But when we make that change, they will have that ability to choose 802.1x radius in the future.
Nice.
So now I can continue. And it's going to validate my input. So it's going to say, oh, dry one. Nope, we're not going to, this is not a test run. We're going to actually deploy this live. This is the network we're deploying it to. We're going to enable, and all the stuff we filled out, I confirm yes. So now it's going to actually run through the entire process. And if we go into our workspace, we can go see the runs. So this is the latest one. And we could see how it went through all the tasks, and then how it went out in over my other window. It triggered this deploy SSID.
Oh yeah.
So what this is going to do now is it's going to actually go through. It's going to run. It's going to update the variables. So it's going to make sure that we update what our known good state, that what it should be. It's going to do a compliance. It's going to make sure that we're going to validate our compliance state, that this is how it should be deployed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to now go through and deploy the SSID into dashboard. And this was a playbook, and this was stuff that was pre-written. So it's not like we had to now go through and rewrite all of these. They've been using this for quite some time. They were just deploying it through a command line, and they needed a senior level engineer to deploy these through, because they were using the open source version of Ansible, which is what I happen to be using here, running in a GitHub action. So it could be triggered to a cloud service without having to be running on-prem. So you can see it made the changes, and it deployed onto my site. So now what I got to do, we can go in here and you can take a look at our wireless SSIDs. And now we have our Corp Secure SSID that was deployed. So this all happened through that action without having to worry about rewriting or somebody configuring all this. And I can deploy this across multiple networks exactly the same way every time. But now what happens if we have one of our engineers that go in and they're in this site, and they're looking at this policy, and they say, something, I need to be able to get to that 192 network. I don't understand why it doesn't work. So I'm going to allow this through. So I'm going to save my change. And what you just saw come through is is that our guest SSID is not compliant because it's open. And that happened because of the compliance check when we did the deployment. But now what I want to run is I want to validate. I'm going through, and I want to see if any of my networks are not compliant. So I can easily run this automation to run a compliance check. Again, it's just a command I can put into the AI agent. It's going to know already what I'm looking to do. Yep, I want to run this. And it's going to say, there.
So you're defining those targets ahead of time. It's like your, maybe your org or your networks.
Yeah, so this is actually a new feature that you asked, Meraki current org. So that's a target that's predefined in here now, where I don't need to have to define that. If you saw, I had like LabNet or that was the original one that I had to define when the feature first came out. You actually had to define what you want to point to, but there's something to make it a little bit more seamless, where we know that you're on Meraki, we know that you're in this organization. We're just going to allow you to process without having to worry about a different API key.
Cool.
So now we can go look at our GitHub Actions, and then we can see which one, webhook dispatch. So we triggered that dispatch, and we are waiting for the compliance check to come in now. And so this all happened. Oh wait, did I not hit? Yeah, sorry, I didn't. Yes.
Oops, we didn't confirm. Yeah, I distracted you. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, this didn't run.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, so it does ask you to confirm, and one of the reasons behind that is because it could be a destructive action. Because these workflows can delete, they do have access to many different things. We want to make sure that you're gonna run that.
Sure.
So, it now said it's gonna run this compliance action. We're gonna get that workflow dispatch. So everyone's gonna run that compliance check.
Yeah, see it running.
And what's nice about the GitHub action is that all of these modules that I need, all of the requirements have all been cached. So every time I run this, it just brings them back. I don't have to keep reinstalling everything every time. And then here's my bot saying, hey, you have 2 things out of compliance now. So my ACL is out of compliance. It's telling me exactly what ACL is out of compliance. It's telling me exactly, what I got to fix, what network it's on. And then I got to now go fix my corp guest SSID as well. So we can always go in here and fix our group policy. Make it deny again. And save that change. And if we wanted to, we can have the compliance agent go back and do another check. But what I'll do is, because I don't want it to have the old context, I'll start a new agent. And this time I'll make sure I confirm. So now it's going to go back and do that check again. But one of the things is, so let's say that did happen, right? And you have your organization, something changed that's not supposed to. We can go back and go look in our change log, because everything is logged on here, and we can see exactly who made that change. So we'll be able to go back through and we'll see that the layer 3 firewall was changed, and we can see what the old value was and what the new value is. So you can go now talk to that maybe help desk person or that level 1 tech that had access and instruct them what not to change in the future. And
okay, so even though you're calling this through an AI agent and calling a workflow, there's still that paper trail, if you will, that accountability, who made the changes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as you see, I am now back in compliance with my ACL.
Oh, yeah.
Even though my guest network is out of compliance, that happens to be set up today for a splash access or a splash page. So that has been approved in our change, and they're just alerting us on that.
Sure.
So it doesn't give you that ability to see who made the change. And then it will when we deploy something. So since we deployed an SSID and via API, you'll see that I'm the one that actually triggered it, because it was tied back to me, tied back to my my API key. So I'm the one that triggered that from happening via API. So you'll know that, because the API key is tied to me, you'll know who deployed it. But at the same token, since we may have a shared API key, we'll also have and we would have known that it was done by the API key. We can check our run monitor or see who triggered that workflow. And we can see that the workflow was triggered originally by me. Where's the deploy SSID?
Oops.
Those are all the compliance checks.
So there's like accountability on the dashboard itself. Who's making changes? There's accountability here. Now you can also set up like authorization or triggering, right? With this, like from an automation standpoint, like send an email to say if you want to trigger something. That right?
Yep. So you can do rules in here where we may need to trigger an approval flow where the automation will stop, and then you have to approve the task under your user tasks to then complete that task. So that is one of the things that, let's say you didn't want the agents or your help desk people to deploy something immediately, you would have to have an approval for it. That can absolutely happen here. The same thing with our compliance check-in. We can have the approval to go back and change that value. We can put that approval so that way an alert goes out to a manager, and they would have to approve that change back without having to worry about the setting. So there's a lot of things that we can do with this that's built in, which is an incredible feature.
So the way you've orchestrated this, the Ansible is kind of doing a lot of that interactive, getting data, making changes, interacting with the dashboard directly. And then you've got some higher level logic that you build around that with workflows, and then kind of the IO piece of being able to, put data into, either through the AI assistant or directly into the workflow. That's kind of done at the workflow level. Is that a fair way to?
Yeah. I look at it as my workflow now as my user interface for this.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It gives me a clean user interface with a chatbot to make these calls without having to host something on another server or someplace else, or put a website up, or using Ansible Tower or something to that effect, where I can now contain it within dashboard. So I can start moving more of my tasks within one framework, within one screen. So it's less flipping back and forth on a daily basis.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
So that's kind of, what I did from the high level demo standpoint. But there are some things that, I'm working on enhancements moving forward for like the compliance checks, being able to use the webhooks on alerts, because workflows can take, in our rules, we can take webhooks. So I can trigger a compliance check from a webhook request, and when we can set up dashboard with alerts and webhook rules that on a config change to trigger a webhook. And that task runs about every 10 minutes, I found. So what we'll end up doing is batching the requests in, and then we'll run an every 10-minute dashboard will send the alerts out about every 10 minutes to the compliance check. But what I'm working on right now is I only want to check certain things that are going to be compliant. So we got to check certain fields and then be able to trigger those compliance checks, so we're not constantly triggering this on every change. So we're able to have that workflow, the config change, and then it'll trigger our workflow. And that is configured where we go up to our alerts. And I added my workflow in here, and it uses this URL that lets you trigger a workflow, which is pretty cool, because we can use those webhooks to trigger multiple workflows to do multiple different things. And like you said before, you can call other products and other technology right from workflows. That's what we did. That's the whole point of kind of this. Is what I did here is be able to leverage existing processes with new.
Right.
So
I
can be notified when these things happen too. Like if let's say it fails a config compliance check, like, and I saw the SNMP traps there, but can I get alerts then to me as like an administrator?
Absolutely. So if, like as you saw with the bot, the WebEx bot that I have, it will alert you on a compliance failure. We can add an alert in for when a new SSID is deployed. We can have that become an approval process.
Okay.
And these are all things that we can do within the workflow to add into the existing scenario without having to edit our playbook. So we may have designed these playbooks a couple years ago. They work. We don't want to touch them. And now we can add some of this enhanced alerting in within the workflow. And all we're using the playbook is just the orchestration piece.
Nice. I'm excited for the next episode to learn more about workflows here. This has been great. This is really good.
Yes.
Yeah, this is super, Josh. I love that the angle of, hey, I think if you're starting from scratch and you're doing some stuff from workflows, that's great. But if you've got a bunch of, like your background, Ansible, Python, that kind of stuff, you've got tons of libraries of stuff written. I mean, the ability to bring it in here and reuse that is huge, I think. So,
Agreed.
and I think a lot of our, a lot of the more advanced customers, at least I would say, do have that, right? Have various scripting capabilities, whether it's Python, Ansible, combinations thereof, that sort of stuff. So
this is really, really cool about workflows. It's not looking to replace everything. It's looking to augment.
Yeah. Good way to put it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And you may have automation. They're not looking to replace your automation. They're looking to augment it. They're looking to bringing some of that into dashboard for you to make it easier. And then if you don't have automation, hey, you can build it in here. You can build some things. And there's some really cool features coming out soon with this to make it even easier. So there's a lot. I would stay tuned to workflows and automation and dashboard. There's some really cool things coming out soon.
Josh, thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
I always learn stuff when I sit down with you. So thanks for helping us out here and helping me in my journey on this.
Making us smarter. Making us
Yeah,
all
that's right.
smarter.
Gotta learn
Agreed.
something new every day.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for
This
sure.
has been fun. Yeah, thanks so much. Anything else you want to mention or cover, Josh?
No, I think that was it for today.
Why do you have a baseball base behind you? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's actually from Yankee Stadium that was used in a game.
Really? Wow. Cool.
Oh, very nice.
Nice.
One day you could do a tour of my office of all the memorabilia I have in here, Yankee stuff. So
A Yankees fan. Okay.
I've been to Yankee Stadium. That was cool. That was a cool experience.
we're a big baseball family. It's starting to become baseball season here.
Yeah. We're
It's going up.
maybe 10 days from opening day here or so. We're getting there.
Getting there.
Outdoor practices start for my boys tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice. Well, we just had a blizzard here, so we won't be practicing outside here anytime soon.
Yeah, we don't stop. They play all year because they'll go indoors once it gets too cold out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, it was great to have you. Thanks so much for doing this,
Yeah.
Josh. And I think this will be, hopefully everybody will be able to kind of learn, take away a little bit from this on how they can integrate with their existing libraries into workflows. So
absolutely. And we'll make sure that the link to my GitHub is on the episode.
The YouTube. Yeah, I'll put it underneath the link here, the video. So thank you so much. And if you ever have a question, you want to reach out, give us feedback on the episode, or have ideas for future episodes, you can get a hold of us at getunplugged@cisco.com. You can always reach out to us as well through your Cisco account team. They know how to get a hold of us. Or you can direct us, message us on Twitter X at Unplugged 80211 or on Threads, Unplugged Connectivity. So, and again, remember, go out there to our YouTube where we're going to post this link to the GitHub, and we'll post this. We'll have this video out there, obviously, and others. Like I said, episode 69, where we kind of talked about what Ansible is and how to get started. And then also go out there to, again, youtube.com/@getunplugged. Subscribe, click the notification bell when we do go live next time in 2 weeks here with episode 83 on more on workflows that you'll get notified. So thanks so much, Josh. This was great. Thanks, Al. Good to see you again. Safe travels to you.
Yeah,
and until next time, stay connected and unplugged.